Hello.
Now we're rolling. All right. Goodness.
All right. C.J. Stroud.
Yeah.
Is he coming to the Colts?
I hope so.
Me too.
He's accurate. He's decisive. He knows how to kind of do things. He's a big guy. He's big enough to withstand the hit, the ravages of the NFL. I like him.
I do too. And how is all of a sudden he fall? This is the crap that I don't understand. All of a sudden, C.J. Stroud is falling. How do you fall? What? Somebody, see, to me, all right, I'm going to walk through this and you tell me I'm wrong. To me, there is never a time to tell the truth. There is never a time to say what I want, I'm really going to do. There is always a time to plant things, to put things with, like Jimmy Irsay always uses Mort. Mort's his guy. We got to get Mort involved. So plant it, put it out there, make it make the rounds. Eventually it'll get published, and eventually, guess what? You got a story.
Yeah, and there is disinformation, and then there's some real information, and there's the commerce of information where GMs find out what, like maybe Ballard gives up some information to Schefter in order to learn what Schefter has learned from the Texans. That I talked to Kevin Demoff, and he's still running the Rams. I was like, how come we can't get a story locally in St. Louis? How come we can't break nothing? Why don't you tell us? And he goes, because we get nothing back. Like, what do we gain from telling you anything? If I tell Adam Schefter something, I get information back from Adam Schefter. So that's the commerce of information, and there is misinformation, disinformation, and that's what happens when you got 60 days between the combine and the draft. You got to fill it with something. Jamie Erdahl's got to talk about something.
Yeah, but I would argue with Dimitrov that, hey, look, okay, then you suck and we're going to crush you every day we can. That's what you're going to get out of it. Like, to me, I'm the local guys. I'm the one driving most content with the Colts. Like, I've always said, Holder's been here 10 years, never broke a story. Nobody breaks a story.
No.
Because exactly what you said. But if I'm them, then I got to say to Ballard, well, then I'm no longer writing puff pieces. Then let's get serious about what the hell you've done here. If you're not going to give me anything as a local writer, why am I going to continue to write pieces that glorify you? I mean, why?
Well, you know the answer.
Tell me.
You got to put food on the table for your family and a roof over their head. Like that's their validation is taking good care of their family.
What does that mean?
Well,
so if I write a negative piece about Ballard, I'm gonna get fired in this town?
Oh, you know what?
What are you saying?
When Robin Miller went after the track with the IndyCar cart split, his career went into arrears. His career hit reverse quick, and he stopped making money. So it's not unheard of that could happen.
All right, so, but it's a different...
Chap's lived a nice life. Chap lives a nice life now. He's got things rolling a little bit. He's got a family. He wants to keep earning. You know,
so
does it require he break stories? I don't think so.
That's interesting. I never thought of this way because I'm looking at it and I'm saying, okay, the Atlantic. What the hell is that thing?
The Athletic.
Athletic, yeah. So the Athletic is supposed to be a separate, unbiased, blah, 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 blah. Well, if I'm working for them and I'm the Colts writer, so that's like, what, Boyd and Kiefer and Kravitz, and I'm not getting a single story, I would think the only thing the Athletic cared about is if you write a story, is anybody paying attention to that story? What kind of numbers am I getting for that story? Not whether or not I have pissed off Ballard or the Colts.
What they care about is subscriptions. They don't care about clicks.
Okay, you're right. Yes, subscriptions. So if the idea is I'm going to write negative stories or I'm going to write the truth, as opposed to, hey, Matt Ryan is great, Chris Ballard saw him for an hour and knew he was going to be great pieces, and say, no, Matt Ryan sucked his last year. He was horse bleep. He was MVP 5 years ago, but now he's garbage. Why are you bringing him here? Which one draws more interest? I don't know.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah, you would probably...
And it would piss me off if everything went to Schefter. And
it does.
It should. It should. If I'm those guys and I'm like, hey, I'm right here every day listening to your bullshit, and Kevin Bowen's got to listen, what you said, Friday, Ballard's talking?
Yeah, Friday noon.
And he'll be a jackass. He'll be a smug jackass to Bowen.
Yeah.
Because that's the history. Yeah. He'll be a smug jackass to anybody that questions him. He'll give you this little kind of swarmy voice talk, look, and act like he's above it all. And then you go, hey, wait a second, pal. You were 3-14 or 4-13, whatever the hell you were. You suck. Don't be smug anymore. I would be pissed if I was those guys.
They understand. And this it worked for you at the Fan, that they understand that people talking about them is good. That's winning. When people stop talking about you, that's bad.
That's bad.
And they understand that. And so I think they're okay
You're
with
saying
a certain
the Colts
amount of negativity.
That.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Right. And Ballard's okay. I think Ballard reads too much and listens too much. And I wouldn't do that. If I'm in that position, what the hell do I care?
Right.
What these people, what I think, what you think, I don't care.
No.
I'm in the arena, man. I'm doing the work. I don't have any interest in that if I'm Chris Ballard, but those guys always do. They always have their stack of newspapers, and they know what people are saying about them. I don't know why. Here, we'll pick on somebody that, Greg Doyle. Greg Doyle, I don't think writes anything without an idea about how many clicks it's going to generate. I think what he does is perform as the cultivator of a click farm for IndyStar.com. So I don't trust that it's coming from a place of reality. That's a problem for me as a consumer. I don't know how the Colts look at it.
Interesting. I think when I was coaching, message boards came out, and I remember Ziggy Zumba had a message board, and they're like, "Hey, you see what happened on Isaac?" I go, "I don't care. I got too many problems. I got too many guys in the training room. I don't give a rat's ass with Joey from Schaumburg or whatever the hell." I get what you're saying. Now, and Doyle's just a fucking lie. I mean, he's just a lying, thieving, adulterous, horrible human being. So I could care less what he writes. But I will say this. If somebody wrote that was there every day and I respected them, I would have to, me personally, I would have to throw them a bone and give them something as opposed to giving it to Schefter. I would have to. Just how I would be.
You're a nice guy.
I'm not that nice, but I would have to. I'd look at these poor slabs.
Than everybody else in the NFL.
I know. I would have to. I'm not saying I would give every story. And I don't know if there's a guy there that I would respect. Maybe I would respect those guys more or have at least a little bit of respect for them if I was there every day with them. Maybe I would. But if I'm Ballard and I'm looking at these slobs every day that are there writing, and I would have to give, all right, come here. Here's what we're going to do. Write this after the fact, but, or after I'll give you an excuse. I would do something. I wouldn't treat them all equal. Nothing's treated equal. Teams aren't treated equal. Players aren't treated equal. Like, I don't respect that either. Doyle would show up and, be like, my problem with Holder is he wanted to fight after one time. This is 20 years ago or 10 years ago after I criticized, well, those are fighting. I'm like, shut up. But if I did respect them, I would, and then Holder and Doyle both make it all about them, and neither of them have done shit as people or as athletes to make it all about them, but I digress. So I wouldn't respect those two, but let's say I respected Kiefer, or let's say I respected Kravitz, or let's say that Boyd, I don't know. I would have to give them something.
Yeah.
You would. The business is such that I'm going to Schefter, King, Rappaport.
I got a guy with 10 million Twitter followers.
I know.
10 million.
I know.
And when he talks, people listen.
I know.
So I'm going to,
Not once.
Do you want to slim for a quarter, or you want to pick a $20 bill up off your deck? Which you want to do?
I would have to.
You're a nice guy.
You would not. You're a nicer guy than me. You're telling me you would not.
I need information. I get paid based upon my information. As the GM.
Yes.
I get paid for the information that I can generate. What kind of an advantage does it give the Colts to know what the Texans are really thinking?
This is where you should never give frickin' Schefter or any of these idiots nationally information if you know they're
shopping it elsewhere.
Yes, but all right, this is the Dick Vitale rule.
Yeah.
When Dick Vitale would do a game, Knight would always say, only tell Vitale what you want out on TV.
Yeah.
Because you knew whatever you told. So I would do that with Schefter. Right. I would be like, whatever I want out, I'm telling Schefter. Because it's that old, if you're telling me about you, or if Schefter's telling me about the Cardinals, I for damn sure know he's telling somebody about what I'm telling you.
Yeah.
So I'm if I can't outsmart Adam Schefter, a little scrappy, then I shouldn't have the job. Seriously.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I shouldn't have the job.
It's odd that that's the way information kind of transpires and transmits inside the NFL, but at least it's according to Kevin Demoff. I don't even know if I'm supposed to say that. We had a breakfast, he told me this. I don't think that
Don't tell Kent anything because he's going to share.
This is off the record. Wait a minute, what was off the record? Shit, I don't remember. I'm telling everybody everything. Yeah.
But the truth of the matter is, that's what's happening here. Some good, some right, some wrong.
Right.
I just have a hard time believing when I've started looking at these mock things, and who knows who's right, who knows who's wrong. But there are certain things that you go, okay, McShay, Kyle, these guys must really know, even these other guys, even these ancillary guys. And one of them, at least it looks like to me, is that there are two guys, Stroud and Young, that have separated themselves at the quarterback position.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
So what you're telling me is, if in fact they have separated themselves, because now people, as you said, are starting to think that the Colts are going to get one of the, Stroud. If they've separated themselves, there's 3 teams ahead of the Colts, and 2 of the 3 for sure, probably one moving up, are going to take a quarterback.
You would think. The Panthers are going to take a quarterback.
They're going to take a quarterback.
They have to. The Texans, they may be playing the long game and thinking, hey, you know what, this draft isn't great at the top at quarterback. And if Young's gone, do we really want to build around any of these other guys? We can go get Will Anderson, put all kinds of pressure on the opposing quarterback, not get that much better with Davis Mills at quarterback, and come back next year and get our guy.
Man.
Caleb, or, the guy from UNC or whomever.
That means you suck again, and you're willing to suck again.
You got one more year of
and you're hoping that you suck worse than everybody else, because by all accounts, Caleb Williams is going to be the number 1 pick, right?
Yeah, right.
Man, I don't know about that. Again, it goes
high stakes business
because they've had good defensive teams. I mean, they
back in the day.
Yeah, they had J.J. Watt, right? Yeah. They had the other guy Clowney. They had Merciless. They had dudes.
Yeah,
and they won crap.
Right.
So you better get a quarterback. Yeah, it's interesting.
They were winning the division.
They were.
If you've got a guy, if you project Will Anderson to be somebody as productive and getting to the quarterback as somebody like J.J. Watt, that's a pretty good anchor for 10 years who can really lift your defense. There's only one, there are 2 reasons, and they're really the same reason to take somebody in the top 5. He can knock the opposing quarterback on his ass, or he can keep or be the quarterback who's not going to get knocked on his ass. That's it.
I agree.
That's how you win.
I totally agree. Venturi, or actually Urban's like, man, how do you not, look at history? Top 4 guys have to be game changers. Now, they don't all pan out because not every pick in every draft pans out.
Right.
But a top 4 guy, let's just keep it at 4 because we're talking about the Colts. It's got to be a dude.
You got to hit that one.
You got to hit it. Yeah. And so it goes back to this. It goes back to, I think, is Anthony Richardson's stock so high that a team like the Texans might feel like, you know what, we've got the mid-ceiling guy that we think Stroud, or maybe we think Levis is, and that's Davis Mills. We've got the mid-ceiling guy. Let's take a swing at the high-ceiling guy.
Right.
And there's Anthony, you know what I mean?
And that's where having great information really helps, because they've also got the 12th overall pick.
Yeah.
And if they love Levis, and Levis is going to keep falling, maybe they can grab Anderson at 2 and then Levis at 12, and they check both boxes. You're sure as hell not going to get Will Anderson at 12.
I wouldn't think.
So you could try to boogie-foogie the system, but man, that's like Texas Hold'em for real people. That's
with big
high
money.
Stakes poker.
All right, so you mentioned, maybe it was 2 shows ago, and I've thought about it. moving back, what'd you say? You move back to 9. You've got 2 in the first round. You try to get Jalen Carter.
Yeah.
Or you take Malik Hooker. And I got to tell you, I've thought about it. And in my way of looking at this, there isn't anything off the board to me if I'm the Colts.
Right.
Moving back, I guess even drafting Levis or drafting Richardson, or if Stroud's there, you take him or Will Anderson. I'm thinking to myself, what is really, no, this is not going to, not what we don't want to happen, what isn't going to happen? Is there anything that you think in all these scenarios isn't going to happen? 100%, this is not, they are not taking Will Levis. They are not moving back. What, is there anything?
It would be a massive surprise to me if they moved up.
If they moved up, okay.
Because that's just not Ballard's DNA.
Yeah.
And he's going to make the call. I mean, if you've got, and this is interesting to you, you come from a coach's perspective, Steichen is undefeated. He has no dead weight. He was not a part of Quentin Nelson being drafted over the top of Josh Allen or any of these other things that fans hold Ballard accountable for. If you're Steichen, how much of a say do you want in that number 4 pick? And if you're Ballard, how much do you allow?
Ooh, man, if I'm Steichen, I want a lot.
Yep.
If I'm Ballard,
I want to give none.
I don't either.
Screw you got 5 years.
Right.
You know, I got months.
Right.
Yeah.
This is, I mean, I guess maybe Ballard is so Teflon that it's never going to end for him. But this seems like this is about it.
That's what they all think. Oh, he says I'm fine. I've got years ahead of me. Okay, what? He wants to see me. Oh,
I don't. You know. I always operated on anytime a call comes from a number that says 317, I shuffle through my brain and think, okay, is that Kent? Is that the boss? Is that what did I do last night? You know what I mean?
What am I up against here?
What happened here?
Meeting tomorrow morning at 10.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And then, hey Dan, David Wood used to go, Dan, you're not being fired, but we got a meeting tomorrow at 10, right? Look, if I'm Ballard, I'm not giving up any of it. And if I'm Steichen, I'm wanting all of it.
Yeah.
I'm wanting look. Now, here's the other deal. Who knows how a guy got hired, but my theory is always the same. There's always a backstory. And when you get hired, you're not just hired because you slap down a resume, he reads the resume, they talk to you about your scheme, and you're hired. I would be curious how much in a actual head coach interview process that what you said isn't discussed. Like, all right, you got to understand, Steichen, we're doing the draft. Now,
right.
Or Steichen's like, hey, look, you're in this position because you didn't do the draft. Well, I want to be a part of the draft. Any operation I'm going, I want to buy the groceries like Parcells said 100 years ago. You know what I mean?
Right.
Be curious.
Oh, absolutely. And you've got to, here's the tough part, is you're trying to get the job.
Right.
So you're trying to portray yourself as somebody that they're going to want to hire, and you're going to be held accountable for every single word you say. You got to be very careful in the way you portray yourself during those interviews, not just if you're going to be a coach or a general manager, but if you're going to be a middleman, if you're going to run an enterprise rent-a-car office, you got to be really careful what you put on the table as your key attributes, because you're going to be held accountable to those, and you better be able to pony up.
What was the coach's name? He was Pelini. He was at Nebraska.
Bo Pelini.
Yeah. So Bo Pelini does one of those things where he says he's like 8-3 or 9-3, whatever he was. He's really good when you look back at what. But he does one of those things, talking about putting things on a table. He does one of those, well, they can fire me right now if they want. And we had to do, Seth Greenberg and I had to do like a 90-minute fill. Some game went off the air at ESPN and we happened to be there. We got into that. We're like, wait a second. Yeah. Don't put stuff out there.
No.
Don't do that.
No.
Never.
No, and the one thing that Ballard does, and he's really smart about it, the one thing, one of many, many,
it's brilliant.
Is he claims responsibility vaguely, but assumes no responsibility specifically, and which is in direct opposition to Pep Hamilton, who would every single Wednesday would get to the podium and say, "This is on me. What I did on that 3rd and 4, when I called that run instead of a pass, that was the wrong call. We should have known, blah, blah, blah. We should have adjusted. I was like,
Right.
shut up.
Right.
Are you out of your mind? You're going to get fired tomorrow. And he was.
I did that as an interim coach at Indiana, thinking it was going to ingrain me to the players. We got whooped at Michigan State. I'm like, that's on me. I didn't have them ready. I'm like, bullshit. I remember as I said it, like, bullshit. I had them freaking ready. Dumbasses probably were getting high in the locker room before the game. I don't know, but I knew I was ready, and I knew we had them prepared. But that's exactly right, and Ballard is the king of that. So, look, ultimately, it doesn't matter who makes the call here in terms of the draft, whether it is a new coach or whether it is the old GM. The bottom line is going to be whether or not he gets panned, whether or not it's really smart. You said it the other day. Every time the Colts draft, they got the guy that they wanted. You can't believe he's on the board. It all don't matter. This is the year where what's going to matter is by week 5, are people already tired of the Colts?
Yeah. Is hope gone?
Is hope gone?
Hope sells. And you've got to present hope. With Richardson and with Stroud, you present hope. I don't think you do that with Levis. I think Levis is just, you start looking at live tape.
Let me stop you right there.
highlights.
The only way Levis is hopeful is if he gets drafted again. People pan it, it's terrible, it's great, whatever they say, he plays well.
Yeah.
By week 5, if he's like, people are like, wait a second, okay, this guy's pretty good. That's the only way. And again, this goes back to my point. Anthony Richardson, he's not going to play. Well, okay, great. If you draft Anthony Richardson, then you're playing Gardner Minshew. Unless, and
if they're 2-6 after 8 weeks, Jim Irsay's throwing furniture out the suite window.
That's what I'm saying.
Put in, Richardson is playing now.
That's what I'm saying.
Thank you for playing, boys.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Impatience is going to kill the development of that kid,
Could.
no matter who drafts him.
Or it could make, all of a sudden Jalen Hurts goes from a guy that is first time playing, he's throwing the ball over the ice. I was just talking on my morning show to a guy from the Eagles. I said, you guys surprised he signed this deal? He goes, well, I'm not surprised after this year, but I'm surprised based on he was year 1.
Yeah.
Where he was throwing the ball high and wide and guys are open and he couldn't give him the ball. But this is a different scenario. This is a coaching staff, well, not a coaching staff, this is a general manager. Maybe Ballard is so Teflon that he can survive 5-13 or 5-12 or 6-11. I don't know. But I don't feel like if I'm Ballard, I got to have I don't know that he can. There's no way you can feel that way if you're Ballard that you can survive 6-11. Let's give him 6-11.
A very impatient fan base.
Gotta be
Eagles
now.
fans, like they've been beaten so badly for so many generations that they're like, oh, okay, next year, even if you suck, we're coming to the games because fly Eagles fly and all that. Wentz, we went through Wentz. We know what Wentz looked like. And Levis looks oddly like Wentz, physically and in terms of his play and decision-making. And so I think that he would come in already with some equity stripped because of the similarities to Wentz. Richardson, we've never done a Richardson. Richardson is kind of like Jacoby Brissett with great talent, like otherworldly athletic talent. And I think we understand that, and we would wait for it. I think Stroud, I
think, would be expected to go now.
Yeah.
I think he would be expected to, not quite Andrew Luckett from 2-14 to 11-5 or whatever it was, but I think people, if you got Stroud in here, I think people would be expected, hey, look, we better make the playoffs.
And you would see some things in him. You would see him make a tough throw and a guy make a great catch. You would see that, like in '98 with Manning. He set the all-time record for rookies throwing interceptions. But it was okay because you saw enough. We're smart enough to know, like, oh, that's projectable. And this is going to be coached out of him, and it's all going to be okay. We got that. So we're going to be okay with a guy like Stroud going through growing pains and that kind of thing.
Like Sean Black just said, he's got to play game 1.
Stroud?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You can't. There's no point not.
All right, so, does a number 4 pick at quarterback have to play game 1?
Not necessarily. It shouldn't be if it's Richardson. So what you're asking, right, is whether you're going to invest the number 4 pick in a guy like Richardson, who you're going to sit for a couple of years. I don't know. Like, you got to be a real forward-thinking cat.
I think the best thing for the Colts would be if Richardson's gone.
Yeah.
I think.
If you get left with Stroud, you sprint to the podium and off you go.
They should be done in a second.
Yeah.
The interesting thing, though, would be this. And again, we've talked about Minshew. But if you do say, I want Will Anderson, our defense is not good enough.
Yeah.
We've taken a swing with Ngakoue. We've done whatever the swings have been. They've not been good enough. In fact, Jonathan Newsom, a 5th-round pick, had more sacks than any of these 1st or 2nd-round picks. Kwity Paye, whatever this guy did, Human Hurricane, and all these guys. And that's like a 5th-round pick of a guy you tell me is the worst general manager in America. I don't know. That's what you need. You need, like, superstar, Freeney Mathis, but you also need dudes that are going to be athletic and overachieve and not underachieve in their draft position. I keep saying that who's developed, so you might as well, I guess, take Richardson or Jalen Carter or, I don't know, somebody that's going to impact the game, because you're absolutely right.
It would be I think it's the most Ballard thing that could happen is if he took Jalen Carter.
I agree.
That's their one position of strength other than special teams, defensive tackle. And you got Grover Stewart, who's going to be in a contract year. He wants inside out. Inside out doesn't work, but somehow, some way, this has been programmed so deeply into the psyche of Chris Ballard that he keeps ignoring what the Bengals do and believing that his 4-12-1 team is suddenly going to flip the script and they're going to be the prototype for NFL success. I don't get it.
What happened to Jeff Saturday? ESPN's making cuts. This was brought to my attention the other day. ESPN's making cuts. They just signed, what's that guy's name, Spears. Was Jeff Saturday, what's he going to do?
I don't know how much money he made. Like, if you make enough money, you want to drag your ass up to, Pier whatever that is in New York and sit with Greenberg.
But I wonder if he can get the job back, because they're making cuts.
Does he want it back? I mean, if somebody walked up to you and said, "Okay, coach 8 games, here's $5 million," and you got the 3 after taxes you put in your pocket, you don't need to go up and talk to Mike Greenberg.
And I've always said this about those jobs. In theory, they're great. When you first start them, they're great. And then after you're there a while, you're like, this ain't so great.
Yeah.
Because you sit around all day. I don't know. I just traveled, and it's a pain in the ass. They're not that great. They're not. And so I just made me think, because I saw the other day they're going to cut. I saw the other day they signed Spears. I was watching today, and they had a bunch of people on a set talking NFL. And I didn't see Jeff Saturday resign. Like, it seemed like Herm Edwards was signed 10 minutes after they fired him from Arizona State. Somebody else, it was the same kind of deal. And I thought, wow, Saturday had a pretty good niche there.
And he really didn't work all that much.
No.
So are they paid by the piece? Are they is he there for 2 days a week, or is he on call?
I think he would. I think what he had was probably a contract. And in the contract, it said you're going to be expected to work, and work would be defined as basically be there all day, starting with Greenberg's show through Smith's show through the night NFL or the evening NFL live show. That'd be a work day.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't be paid by the day, but he would be paid probably a salary.
For a total of 80 days.
Yeah, a number. Yeah, they always give you a number, and they would say, okay, but during the football season, we're going to use you 30 times, and then there would be language in there that says, any breaking news, we might bring you in or whatever. But he wasn't making a ton doing that. I guarantee you. The way you make money at ESPN is doing games.
The tough part for me in that is that you want to ascend to this place. And once you ascend to that place, what do you do from there?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, what's next for Jeff?
Right. I don't know.
He was already there.
Right.
So
how soon until we want Steichen fired? Brian,
he's got to lose a game.
Bad draft, and he's got to be out of here. What? All right, here's a question. Here's a question for you right now. Draft's about a week or so away. What determines for the Colts a bad draft? Not after the first 10 games, but right now. What determines a bad draft in your mind on the Monday after the draft?
I don't know where they are in season ticket sales, but I would want the phone to ring on Monday. I'd want extra people in the facility, and I want the phones ringing.
Who does that?
Who books the people?
No, who are you drafting that would make that happen? Would Will Anderson make that happen?
No, but I think Stroud would.
Stroud's about the only guy.
Yeah.
Would Levis?
No.
Would Anthony Richardson?
Maybe people would call it Kansas.
Would Anthony Richardson?
I don't think so. I think Stroud's kind of that guy.
Anthony Richardson getting a lot of juice.
If you trade, oh God, I hate trading back. But if you trade back, get a lockdown corner, and you somehow or another, you get a wide receiver you feel good about, and you get an edge, all of a sudden you plug 3 holes, and you start to kind of mind screw yourself into believing that maybe Minshew could keep the boat afloat if you've got enough good pieces around him, and Taylor coming back and Leonard coming back. Then things get a little bit more interesting. But God almighty, I hate trading back, because trading back stacks mediocrity, and stacking mediocrity is not the path to success in the NFL.
If Hendon Hooker came here with, I don't know, the wide receiver that was supposed to not be on the board, but he was on the board, and we took.
Yeah, Jalen Hyatt or something.
Would Hendon Hooker move the needle?
I don't think so. He kind of. We don't even know where he's at physically, in terms of his ACL recovery, and they say he could be good to go by camp, but that doesn't help it. You need every minute of every day moving into your rookie year to make that leap to the NFL. And I don't know whether that corrupts his ability to do it. I loved him before he tore his ACL.
Great.
Boy, does he throw a nice ball.
Yeah.
Holy cow, and he's a little bit mobile. And that he's 25, he walks into the room kind of knowing who he is, whereas Anthony Richardson is young, doesn't really know who he is. And I think you got to walk into a locker room with some swag.
Oh, yeah. Not too much. Can't be a dick.
No.
Can't be Johnny Manziel. You can't be a guy that's all right.
Jeff George, a little bit of that.
Tamar Bates at Indiana, I told you all about that when it happened, because you can't walk in like that. You got to walk in humble-ish, but with a confidence about you. That good quarterbacks
How do I fit them, not how do they fit me?
Yeah, so if they got Hendon Hooker, all right, let's take out the season ticket thing.
Yeah.
Let's take that out, all right? I think for the Colts to improve, which is what I think there has to be a playmaker, and I'll say Will Anderson, let's say he is, on offense or defense. And if you can get Stroud, you get Stroud, and that covers all that. But there's got to be a defensive playmaker, and there's got to be an offensive playmaker.
Yeah.
There's got to be. There just are not enough. You have to get an offensive playmaker in there, whether it's a wide receiver that we got to listen to. Wow, we couldn't believe he's on the board. He's the greatest. Okay, fine. He's the greatest thing ever. I don't want a wide receiver that you have to make excuses for, he could be a downfield guy. I want Willie Gault. I want the fastest human being alive, and there's no excuse. Maybe he drops the ball. I don't give a shit. Just give me the fastest dude alive and figure it out from there.
That's the easiest way to draft for me. Draft speed. Go get guys who can run fast, because you can't teach it. And it seems like the Colts, they target fast people, and then they negotiate their way into the 4.55 guy in the 40.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you got a team full of possession receivers. Nobody's dynamic. Nobody can break a game open. And how the hell do you win that way in the NFL?
That's why I always thought Nyheim Hines should have been a guy here.
I didn't get it.
I didn't get that at all. I always say there's always a backstory. And there's got to be a backstory. When you talk to him, he's like the greatest guy ever. Sprinter speed. You could run him inside. They ran him inside, and he scored touchdowns from the 2-yard line. I thought this guy, particularly last year, even when they were saying Nyheim Hines' name, they were like, if you have a fantasy team, draft Nyheim Hines.
Yeah.
Frank was saying
Frank was talking all about Nyheim Hines and how he was going to be this, that, and the other. And he was that with Luck? Luck's here when he was a rookie, or maybe it was with Rivers. Rivers figured out how to use him. And, you know, he had a bunch of yards receiving, had some yards rushing, looked like that widget guy that could serve a bunch of different purposes. And it just kind of,
Yeah.
And I don't know why.
Yeah, Joey's right. I mean, it was, he'll play the slot. We can do this with him. We got, you know, Debo Samuel. I mean, it's like, all right. So, and I'm looking at it now going, boy, could you use a guy like Hines? Man, I mean, they get rid of Hines in the same year that Jonathan Taylor, you know, gets banged up and he's done for the year. Taylor dynamic, but I think if they come out of it with two legit playmakers, not we got to make excuses for guys, or not we see potential in a guy, or you know, legit playmaker, then I'll be all right.
Okay, Hines goes to Ballard. This is the supposition. We believe this to be the case. Says, I want to be traded. This is my contract year. I'd like to go someplace where they're going to use me. And Ballard says, okay, we'll trade you. And they ship him off to Buffalo. Stephon Gilmore comes in and says, hey, you got to trade me. I'm at the end of the line, and I got to go. I know I got a year left under contract, but can you deal me? So they send him to Dallas for a 5th rounder. Would you do that as a GM?
No.
And he's your only, you got him and Isaiah Rodgers, and that's really it.
There's got to be a backstory to that. There's got to be some kind of backstory that I thought he was horrible. Now, everything I read says he was great. I thought he was disinterested. You know, I was expecting a guy that was a defensive player of the year. I wasn't expecting that, but I was expecting a leader. I was expecting an energy.
He was very quiet.
Yeah, it was like he was just another guy, and everyone around him was building him up. And I thought he was bad. I did. He got beat on the ball by McLaurin. He made a great play. He made a few great plays where I even on Twitter, people have reminded me, well, look what you said about Gilmore. Okay, that's a great play. But I thought overall, if I was going to evaluate him, there's no way in hell. I am in charge of doing what's best for the organization.
Yeah.
And on a broader spectrum, and this is where Bob Knight was great, man. He used to read letters from farmers in the middle of nowhere and talk about how important Indiana basketball was, and I was all in on it. I'm like, yeah, we got to win it for Sam. But I'm not giving a rat's. You want traded? You want a bigger role? Here's what you're not doing well. Go do it.
Yeah, right.
You want traded at the end of your career? Look, we think we're going to build a team here. You're a starting corner. Be better.
Yeah, how about win here?
Yeah.
Compel them to play better.
Yeah.
You don't like your teammates. See if you can lift them a little bit. What are we doing?
You're veterans.
I don't get it.
It's not. They weren't rookies. Those two guys. Even Hines was here for a while. Like we said, this goes back to luck, or maybe it goes back to Rivers. No,
very accommodating.
I don't get that, because I'm telling it does not make other players go, well, look how nice they are with the Colts. I want to sign with the Colts.
If I make a mistake by signing with the Colts, they're going to let me leave.
Yeah.
That's where I want to go. Who wants that guy?
I don't want that guy.
No.
All
right, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Let me change the subject.
Please.
Draymond Green keeps popping into my head.
Yeah.
So I am completely disinterested in the NBA playoffs.
Gotcha.
There's no conflict. There's no drama. There's no rivalry that's meaningful to me. All of a sudden, I see Draymond Green stomp on Domas Sabonis' chest, and I think, finally, all right, there's some action. There's some bubbles. This is carbonated now. I want to see Game 3 of this series. They suspend Draymond Green. Now I'm back to flat for the NBA playoffs. Am I wrong? Should they suspend guys?
I think he should be suspended for the rest of that series.
Really?
I think that it's not only for the stomp, but the dude is like running around like an idiot. Like Coach Knight, when I went to go play, I always refer back to Indiana. When I went to go play, I thought there was going to be all these rules.
Yeah.
It's Bob Knight. Get in bed by 10, no phone, no this. There was 2 rules. Don't embarrass yourself, don't embarrass the program. That's it. That encompasses a lot of things. Yeah. I'm watching Green. Okay, he stomps him, give him a suspension for that. But all the crap after, running around like a maniac, he embarrassed the entire freaking league. I'm like, just sit his ass, like he's like a guy running around looking for help and trying to fake it. I think I'm right about this. You could probably tell me. I think Dennis Rodman lives a pretty crappy life right now.
Yeah.
I think I've read this.
Dennis has made some mistakes.
Yes. And this is the Dennis Rodman thing. Like, I'm a wild man. All right, but I'm going to answer your question. So my question is, I think he should have been suspended. But I got to tell you, I'm with you. I had no interest. And I was looking for that, a game, a series. I'm sitting with my buddy Mike Paulson. We're on a trip in Vegas playing golf. We went over to this nice restaurant right in wherever they have the Mirage we're staying. There's a TV right there. It's Golden State against Sacramento. There's a TV over here at this nice bar we're sitting at, and it's a UFC fight. UFC fight's pretty good. We're barely paying attention to Golden State. UFC fight. All of a sudden, we're watching Golden State and the Kings. No volume. It's unfreaking believable.
Yeah.
Everybody's making shots. I mean, they're drilling. Whoever missed was going to lose. The crowd, you know how some places show up great on TV?
Yeah.
Sacramento's gym showed up great. It looked like the crowd was right on top. So this entire bar, now it's a restaurant bar, and so there was tables, people on dates. All of a sudden, with about, I don't know, 3-5 minutes to go in the game, every shot was met with, oh yeah, in this bar.
Really?
It went from, there's a UFC game, okay, all right, to screaming people. And it went from 0 to 100.
Yeah.
So now that series, with or without Green, because Golden State's down, because it was fun. I do like watching Curry. Now I'm into the series. That's the one series I'm watching. Green or no Green. But I've had enough Green. I've had enough Green.
Well, you and he have had an interesting relationship.
It's always been good. It's
right.
always been really.
You wanted the Pacers to take him.
Begged for him.
Yeah.
We took Miles Plumlee.
Yeah.
Good for us. Larry Bird's a genius.
It's fun to be right, isn't it?
Yeah, once in a while.
That's really right.
Doesn't have an oven, but it did that time.
All right, Edey.
Yeah.
Edey's going to go to Chicago, and then he's going to come back to West Lafayette, right? Can he play in the NBA?
God, he's the most Rob Dibble, I was on his show. He asked me yesterday. I said, you know what I would do? If I needed a big guy, I swear to God, I would send whoever I trust the most in my scouting staff. And it would be stalker-like following Zach Edey. I want to see him every move in Chicago or wherever the combine is. I want to see him working out in Purdue. I want I got to know.
Yeah.
Because you're talking about a different dude. You're talking about 7'4" legit, broad-shouldered legit, can move legit, has enough stamina. Whether he has stamina for the NBA game, I don't know. Can make everything against any size going to his left shoulder with a jump hook.
Yeah.
He's a bailout guy inside, which there's not a lot of bailout guys inside that you can just lob it up to and he can go get you a shot late clock. Has pretty good timing blocking shots, really good timing, has a free throw that looks like he can shoot. I don't know did you ever see him shoot a jump shot?
No.
I don't think I did. But he's got a free throw, he's 70-some%, looks like he can. I think, I'm not saying I'm drafting him, but Ken, I got to study him. I've got to make sure I'm not missing a guy that's going to be a 10-10 guy for 20 years. And by all accounts, he's a great kid with a great work ethic. That's intriguing.
Second round, if you're Edey, and there's a second round, you know you're going to go middle of the second. Or come back to Purdue and get all that NIL money, which it seems going to be. There'll be a different visa.
All right.
Like I heard Painter yesterday talking about the change in visa that can take place because of College Player of the Year or something like that.
All right.
So if he can get that money, do you stay the 1 year for the money, or have you done your business?
Well, done your business. You know, I've done all I can do in college. No, you haven't. You lost to St. Peter's and you lost to frickin' Fairleigh Dickinson. You haven't done squat in terms of the tournament. Kent, here's what happens. Your agent, whoever drafts Edey, has to know he's getting guaranteed money as a second-round pick. Now, I don't know the rules well enough.
Right.
Is it guaranteed now in the second round?
You can guarantee second round.
I would have to know I'm getting guaranteed second-round money.
Seems a little less than half get the guarantee.
Well, I would think he would be a guy because he could just go back to Purdue and do pretty well. But I would have to know that.
Yeah.
And if I knew that, again, the reason guys leave early is not the first contract. It's the second contract where you make hundreds of millions and that kind of thing. I'm telling you, he's the most intriguing guy. Trace Jackson Davis is intriguing too. I'd have to know that he couldn't play because it sure looks like he can play.
He can do something.
Jeez, and he seems to be a smart, tough kid that wants to get better.
if you're an Indiana fan, do you hope that Edey comes back to Purdue because you beat Purdue twice last year?
No, are you out of here? Hey, man, every morning, Bob Knight would ask me, hey, you hearing from anybody in Gary? Is Robinson leaving? And every morning I go, Coach, I think he is. They keep telling me that I know, I'm just having to say something. I'm like, Coach, they keep telling me he is. Everybody tells me he is. Everybody says he can't wait to get out of there. He's already quit twice, which he did. I'm like, he's got a, I think. And then he stayed, I think, one extra year. And then like, you told me he was leaving. I go, but no, get him out.
Yeah.
Play that Swede guy that can barely walk, at least now. He'll be fine, but play the Swede. Get rid of Edey today, tomorrow, the next day, and take Braden Smith and Foster Lawyer, or whatever the hell his name is. Get their ass out of there, too. Go transfer if I'm Indiana. I want them all gone.
How come people don't transfer from Purdue as often?
They don't transfer from Connecticut either.
No, although they are.
Well,
right?
they're
coming out to
the pros.
NBA.
He had one guy leave. He ended up at Florida Atlantic. Danny Hurley's nuts. I don't know. People don't leave Purdue, and
I get it with Brandon Newman. He wants to play more.
Right. He's leaving,
and it's kind of like clearly he is who he is there. He wants to have a bigger role, and that's cool.
That's the only guy, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Newman is my guy, and this is unsolicited told me that he's actually looking maybe Ball State or mid-major. He wants to score points.
I'd go to Ball State. Ball State's got a great arena.
Yeah.
I like Michael Lewis. The great Ben Botts is on the staff. I think
I'd go to Illinois
State,
but that's because Andrews.
Yeah, there you go.
They got a great arena. But
and Ryan Peaton, the happiest head coach in the history of college basketball.
Always has been.
Yep.
I mean, it's like you and I talked about. If I were Anthony Leal, he should have gone to Ball State, scored 15 or 8 or 10 or 12, and then he had a big money deal at Indiana, and then I had to play him. Instead, we talked about it. He's the white guy running out there, the only Mr. Basketball running out there being the hype guy.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
Cheer monkeys.
Mid-major to mid-major, little success, becoming a farm system for the Big Ten. That's the way. I think Andrew told me the other day there were 6 kids from the Missouri Valley this year. I think there were 7 last year that left the Valley and went to the Big Ten.
Really?
Yeah. I think there were 6 or 7 last year. He told me there's 6 or 7 already this year.
Yeah, Peyton Sparks
coming
from the MAC not the Valley.
Yeah.
And you know what? Illinois State, when I was in St. Louis and they had Arch Madness, Illinois State travels.
Yeah,
they got great fans.
Great facility.
It's really a good group of. It was like you looked forward to being in the Illinois State bar because it was really fun. So, and that wasn't the case with all the Valley schools.
No.
Evansville did not travel well.
No, and I'm sure if they were even made the tournament, they had less this year. But the thing about it, Andrew told me this, and this is so fascinating to me when he said this. He played at Michigan, he played at Ohio State. Didn't play much at Michigan. Was a walk-on, nondescript. Ohio State he played.
Right.
And he goes, Dad, I'm just telling you. He goes, it's nice to be in a basketball city. I go, what do you mean? He goes, oh, man. He goes, I'm assistant coach. He goes, I go to the store. People are asking me how the Redbirds are going to be. He goes, at Michigan or Ohio State, I'd be walking with Duncan or I'd be walking with Jayshawn Tate at it. They thought maybe Duncan was, I don't know, wide receiver. You know what I mean? Or maybe Jayshawn Tate was a wide receiver. He goes, Dad, these guys, they didn't know who the hell nobody cared. And these are guys that are starting. One team's in the Final Four championship game at Michigan.
Still.
Nobody gave a shit.
Yeah.
No, and so it is a little fascinating, Towns. And that's what Mike's trying to build in Muncie. Mike's trying to get it to where everybody is, instead of everybody wearing an Indiana or Purdue shirt on campus, you're wearing a Ball State shirt.
Chirp.
Used to make me crazy at Bowling Green. We go to a game and a guy be sitting in the second row and he's got a Michigan shirt on. And it just drives me batshit crazy. It would. But I think, what do you think? Edey come back, yes or no?
Oh, I think he comes back to Purdue.
Do you?
I'd go back to Purdue. He fits at Purdue. And like he's going to get feedback. What do you need to do to enhance who you're going to be in the NBA? Go do that. Work at that. And I think Painter's good about trying to get guys coached up to where they're draftable. Juwan Johnson went to Purdue, and because he played for Painter and because of the development that he kind of had given him by Painter and the staff, he wound up being a first-round draft pick.
Yeah,
He's a skinny little kid from Franklin Central, for goodness sake.
Dakota Mathias played in the NBA. Vince Edwards was drafted in the NBA.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I think he comes back, but I will say this: looking at it from the other side, if I'm an NBA team, man, I gotta know. Particularly if I need a big, particularly if I'm deficient inside, which, we all know bigs aren't that important. But I saw DeAndre Ayton, pretty good, 15-20 or 15-12 last night. But I got to know on that kid, because that kid has certain things that big gumpy guys just don't have. He's got a little bit of stamina. He rebounds it at the apex. He rebounds it where a lot of big guys just rebound it because it falls to them and they're big. He rebounds it with really good timing. He blocks shots with really good timing. Not every big guy is a good shot
It's
blocker.
good hands, right?
Really good
nice
hands.
touch.
Yeah, and he can go to this shoulder. I don't know if he can go to this shoulder, but I know he can go to this shoulder on a jump hook, and he's unaffected by size. And that's the problem with Jackson Davis. Jackson Davis goes to his shoulder like this, and he's affected by size. But Edey's so freaking big, and he releases the ball up here that nobody can really get there unless you can take a step and then jump, and you can get to that point.
Yeah.
He's pretty, I don't know, man. I think he comes back. Be honest with you.
What's the hurry, Murray?
I don't get that either. Like, if I'm Jackson Davis, unless somebody's telling me you are a first-round pick, my ass is coming back. I'm going to be the all-time leading scorer in the history of Indiana, maybe the all-time leading scorer in the history of the Big Ten. I'm going to be an all-time legend. I've got a still chance to go to the NBA. He's making a ton of NIL money.
Yep.
I don't get it. I don't, because
it's a good life.
It's a great life, and that's a life that is forever.
Yeah, right.
That's a forever. That's the all-time. Blah, 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 blah. When he left school, he was the all-time league, and you got a chance to actually do something in the NCAA tournament. Whereas now you leave, you didn't win a Big Ten, you didn't win a tournament, you didn't do anything. I think I'm wrong. We're wrong.
I don't think so.
We're old.
We're just circumspect. We're not driven by greed.
That's true. I wish I was.
Bloomington is a good place to be a basketball player for a lot of reasons, and now money's among them. I stayed 6 years and I wasn't getting paid, and I didn't have access to all the fun that Trace Jackson Davis has. What are you gonna do?
My buddy Custer stayed extra to work Amway back in the day.
Really?
Yeah. Well, he took a semester off, lived there, sold Amway. Remember Amway?
That's a good idea. There's no place better to
lived
be
in a
the
fraternity
summer.
house. Lived in a fraternity house. Yeah. He took it off. He sold Amway and lived in college. See, people are doing that to stay in college.
Yeah,
Imagine what Jackson Davis would get to stay in college. Hey, you Hoosier hysterics. Jackson Davis needs another $100K. Get it over there.
How do they do it? Do they give him a check, a money order? Do they wire it to him, Venmo it? Do they bring a sack like they did back in the day?
The bag man.
I want the sack.
I want a black
Give me a
satchel.
sack, yeah.
Or a brown paper bag. Leave it in the bag.
Yeah. What's that? That's my cash. Oh.
That's a great question. When Woody calls the hysterics, hey, they did this year, Corey, allegedly. Hey, Schefino Hood or Hood Schefino needs another 100,000. That's what they did. How do they get the money? Like, is that tax? Well, you only give them $52 or 52 cents on the dollar. That's what I don't know. I have no idea.
We gotta find out.
That's fascinating.
We'll find out.
All of a sudden, Candy Graham.
I heard that. You've heard that story, I'm sure. Like Isaiah Thomas playing cards with Sam Bowie at the McDonald's All-American game, and they ran Bowie out of money, and he called Kentucky, and within 15 minutes he had $5,000 in a sack outside the hotel room door. That's service.
You know what Indiana used to do? Joby Wright used to tell me this story. So Indiana, if you had a big game, you'd leave your shoes outside your dorm room. And when you got up in the morning, it would be like, it wasn't that kind of money, but Joby would be like, I knew if I had 10 rebounds or so, there'd be 20, 50 bucks in there if I had a double-double, and they didn't count double-doubles. But if I had 20 points, I knew there'd be 50, 20, 20, 50 bucks.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
And I'm thinking to myself, I don't know, you're pretty trusting on the shoes. Because first off, you're leaving them out there. I mean, there's some dudes in the dorm would take those in a second, no?
Yeah.
And then you got cash in the shoes? That's what he said.
Hey, maybe they were putting 200 in there and a guy was sharp enough to take 150 out.
Right. Damn.
So,
no, that's good.
all right, man. Excellent.
We got to get you to subscribe.
Yes. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and that way that the algorithm, I don't know what algorithm even means, hit the bell so anytime we go live, you get an alert. Nice. You can't make a donation because we don't have enough subscribers yet. But we are passing podcasts by the score as our subscription base keeps moving up. Guys, I was on a show this week. Said we're hoping to get to 1,000. We got to 1,000 like first show.
Now we need to get to 2 this week. Dan, this show needs to be noon to 3. That's a lot of work.
It is a lot of
Kit
work.
does a show in the morning down in Bloomington. I go 9 to 11. It's hard work 9 to 11. It's 2 whole hours.
It's a lot of work. But who knows? Somebody's looking, still looking, and they ain't found anybody yet.
Oh, where? At noon to 3?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I haven't watched. I haven't listened. I listened once and I tweeted out, what the hell's happened to my show? I felt bad about doing that because I listened for like 3 minutes and I'm like, I don't know who the hosts were. It wasn't Jimmy. And I'm like, oh man.
Yeah.
That's not great.
Yeah. You've got us here.
Yeah.
Isn't that nice enough? Isn't that good enough? Is there nothing we can do to please you people? We sit here, we bust our ass. No, have a great week or a great part of the week, and we'll do this again.
Probably do this
We
on
always do.
Thursday maybe if we can.
Perfect.
We'll see.
All right.